terrific, tremendous ever. And everybody will say, according to them, that it's the greatest ever. When the reality is most working people I know are much worse off than they were when Joe Biden was in the White House. Most working people I know are now going, I think we made the wrong choice. We made the choice to give the CEO class all the power. Because that's what this is about. It's about consolidation of more and more power. In these first 100 days, as I said, bad, lots of bad. You can go through the list that EPI has put forth, all bad. And understand, the next 100 days, there will be another list, which will be all bad for working people. Now, if you're Elon Musk, if you're in the CEO class, if you're in the investor class, if you're one of those people on the internet saying, debt is good, go buy 100 houses using somebody else's money and go deep into debt. If you're one of those people, this administration is your hero. This is what you wanted. You knew what you were voting for. But if you're like most people, punching the clock, collecting a paycheck at the end of the week that isn't going as far as it used to, it's going to be a rough ride, and it's going to get rougher. Because that fantasy that he sold my family back in 2016, that he was going to bring all those manufacturing jobs back, those union jobs back, that ain't happening, folks. Not happening. Want to hear your thoughts. How are things going? Has this trickled down yet? Do you feel it? I want to hear your thoughts. Email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com. Miss any portion of the program, make sure you grab the podcast wherever you find your favorite podcast. You'll find ours. And as always, thanks so much for being here. We'll see you back here next time.
You've been listening to The Rick Smith Show. Email Rick at rick@thericksmithshow.com. Until next time, this has been The Rick Smith Show, where working people come to talk.
AP News. I'm Marcela Sanchez. The German Domestic Intelligence Service has classified the Alternative for German Party as a right-wing extremist effort. The Federal Office for the Protection of the Constitution found that the party does not consider people with a migration history from predominantly Muslim countries to be equal members of the German people. The party, known as AfD, placed second in February's national elections. AP correspondent Lawrence Brooks reports on Israeli strikes near the presidential palace in Damascus.
Israel's Air Force has struck near Syria's presidential palace in Damascus. The strike comes after they warned Syrian authorities not to march toward villages inhabited by members of a minority sect in southern Syria. The Israeli army has said that fighter jets struck adjacent to the area of the palace of President Ahmad al-Sharaa. Pro-government Syrian media outlets have said the strike hit close to the palace on a hill overlooking the city. The strike comes after days of clashes between pro-Syrian government gunmen and fighters who belong to the Druze minority sect near the capital. The recent clashes have left dozens of people dead or wounded. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Defense Minister Israel Katz have said the strike was a message to Syrian leaders. A joint statement said, "We will not allow the deployment of forces south of Damascus or any threat to the Druze community." I'm Lawrence Brooks.
A drone struck a vessel carrying aid to Gaza off the coast of Malta on Friday. The vessel was trying to get food and supplies to people in Gaza and belonged to the Gaza Freedom Flotilla. Malta's government said no casualties were reported on board. Israel's army did not respond to a request for comment. For 2 months, Israel has blocked any humanitarian aid from entering Gaza. It's believed to be the worst humanitarian crisis since the war began. Mike Waltz is out as National Security Advisor after President Trump announced he's nominating him as United Nations Ambassador. Secretary of State Marco Rubio would take over in an interim role. The move comes weeks after Waltz mistakenly added a journalist to a signal chat being used to discuss military plans. This is AP News.
AP Sports, I'm Gethin Coolbaugh. Jalen Brunson scored 40 points and made a game-winning three-pointer with 5.1 seconds left, and the Knicks eliminated the Pistons with a 116-113 Game 6 win.
Obviously, everyone's going to say a lot about the last shot, but throughout the game, the ups and downs a bit, we all stay composed.
New York will face the defending champion Celtics in the second round of the Eastern Conference playoffs. The Clippers forced a Game 7 in their West first-round series with a 111-105 win over the Nuggets. Stanley Cup playoffs, the Maple Leafs will face the defending champion Panthers in an East second-round series after a 4-2 Game 6 win to eliminate the Senators. In the West, the Golden Knights and Oilers both won their series to book a second-round showdown, and the Avs forced a Game 7 against the Stars. And Scotty Scheffler is the first-round leader in his hometown Byron Nelson after shooting a 10-under 61. Gethin Coolbaugh, AP Sports.
I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see a few spotty rain showers at times here for today with cloudy skies and a high into the lower 60s. We'll have winds out of the northwest around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Then for tonight, a slight chance for some rain, cloudy, a low near 45. By Saturday, a slight chance for rain showers, cloudy, high 52 degrees. Then by Sunday, chance for rain and high around 54. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 52.
At Napa, we've spent the last 100 years building our business into an engine that powers yours. Whether you're big or small, national or local, Napa has the automotive solutions your business needs to stay moving. And it's all driven by a nationwide network of quality parts and exceptional service on one mission: to keep your business moving full speed ahead. That's why we are the pros that know. Napa know-how.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew.
Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Good Friday morning, progressives, and welcome to the May 2nd, 2025 edition of Choose Views. 773-763-9278. Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, YouTube, and, of course, iHeartRadio. Email me at richard@wcpt820.com. Catch me on Substack. Yes, Trump's first 100 days, a flat-out disaster. Just recently posted. Catch all of our shows by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. There you can get Choose Views, short versions and long versions. Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive. Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez. The Big Picture with Edwin Eisendrath. Out Chicago, and our other shows and interviews. Of course, check out our heartlandsignal.com digital platform. There is lots of good material there for you guys to share with your peeps. A couple of really good pieces on X. The Representative Jasmine Crockett talking about not giving DOJ any more power because the American people did not elect Elon Musk and his minions, and we barely elected Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. Representative Rashida Tlaib from Michigan talking about how Donald Trump has relied on executive orders and not done much other than try to hurt the courts. And another good piece on Michigan State Representative Natalie Price, Democrat, talking about the everyday person in the state of Michigan, or in other words, as she puts it, Michiganders didn't wake up worrying about the renaming of the Gulf of Mexico. They're concerned about taking care of their day-to-day expenses and activities and all the things that go with their lives, and not forcing the renaming of the Gulf of Mexico. So check out our heartlandsignal.com website, and you'll get lots of good stuff there. Trust me. Okay. On today's show, it's Friday, so in addition to Choose Views news and what's happening in Chicago this weekend, in the 6:30 hour, we have our good friend Karen Byrne from TruBlu Politics podcast will be with us. And then at 7:30 this morning, first Friday of the month of May, we will have our own Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson on the state of Chicago and other items that are going on in and around the state as well as the nation. So looking forward to having Mayor Johnson with us in the 7:30 hour this morning. Our topics today, we're going to keep asking that question. What do you want national Democrats to be focused on right now? To hear from you, whether you text that to us or you give us a call. We'll be taking your calls most definitely, getting as much as we can. Certainly during the 7:30 hour, we'll have that nice little opening there. And then I asked this question, and it's going to be one of our ongoing questions. What are you doing to make your life count? We'll talk a little bit about, more than likely, we're going to talk a little bit about what I'm calling falling forward. And that's the failing forward, I should say. Failing forward. Waltz's new sort of nomination as UN ambassador after this debacle over at the Department of Justice. So we'll talk about that and maybe lean into a little bit of the new minerals deal with Ukraine. But most definitely, we've got a couple of clips from Governor Pritzker, from Representative Stansbury that we didn't get to yesterday, and Mitch Landrieu out of Louisiana. So there you go, guys. It's Friday, and we are going to cover as many things as we can. The big one for those of us here, for the WCPT family at large, meaning the guests and the friends and all those folks, is our 20-year anniversary event is taking place tomorrow up at Max and Benny's Restaurant in Northbrook. 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. will be our broadcast time. It's a sold-out event, and we've got special guests that'll be there with us. And what's also going to be really cool, for those of you who were not able to actually get a ticket to the event, you can go to our website and catch the events that way. So there you go, guys. We're going to have we'll have a fun time, I'm sure, tomorrow. Looking forward to it. It's going to be it'll be a little bit of musical chairs, because we're going to have from everybody from Hal to Joan and Patty and myself, and there'll be others. So we'll be shifting chairs around and all that kind of stuff. So if you're going to be attending, you'll see a little bit of musical chairs from the folks at WCPT. And if you're catching it on the site, you may hear some of that background noise. But stay with us, because we're going to bring you a great show, and we're looking forward to that and seeing some old faces and faces that of you guys who call into our shows and have been, as much as we celebrate the 20 years, we also want to celebrate you as our community. And we've been blessed to build a great community, and being here in Chicago makes it even more exciting, because we're one of the leading, if not the leading, progressive city in the nation. And as I say about our local, our state elected officials, don't get it right every time, but we do our best to bring the best to you. And I've said this in many cases, and said this in one of our clips. My primary goal is to bring you the best that I got. So I do that every day, or seek to do that every day. And the rest of us here at WCPT do the same thing. So tomorrow will be a really good event, but it'll also be, as much as it'll be a celebration of the 20 years, it's also going to be an acknowledgement and a recognition for you guys and all the support that you've given us over the years. So we appreciate that, and we want to make sure we talk about that tomorrow. We'll have some fun with that tomorrow. So, all right. Man, what can I tell you? We're getting through another week. We've had some really wonderful guests with us this week on the show. Going back to the beginning of the week on Monday, Sarah Jones from Politicus USA. Dr. Erie Crawford spoke with us as well. Amy Scott, that was really an enlightening and eye-opening interview with her, as she's the head of exhibitions at Morton Arboretum. Bryce Covert, who talked with us about the situation with McDonald's. And I want to just kind of give a shout out to Bryce on the air. We talked about some of the issues with regard to sexual harassment as an issue with McDonald's, but it's an issue that is unfortunately, part of what's going on in our country and many businesses. So the point I want to make about that is I got a really got a nice couple of emails from people, Henry, on that particular segment, and a couple of folks said thank you for not forgetting about that topic because it is a big one. It does impact our workforce. And one person in particular said that as a business owner, business leader, he was reminded that he wants to step up the game at his company to make sure that the employees there are mindful of appropriate behavior in the workplace. So that makes me feel good that we are doing that kind of work when someone can say, yeah, and that goes back to what I say often, not about about perfection, but just striving to get better every single day. So shout out to the people who emailed me and thanking us for having Bryce on to talk about that subject. Kurt Mullet had a great recap of his interview with Rosie O'Donnell, which was cool for him, and I'm happy that he was able to bring that to us. And then yesterday, our good friend Dan Summons and Jennifer Benson, who were part of the great organization Blessings in a Backpack, and the work that they're doing to make sure that today, when children go home, Fridays, that they don't go home hungry, and they hopefully come back on Monday with, a little bit of inspiration about getting back to school, getting back to class. And we wrapped up yesterday with Alex Lawson, who is Managing Director, Executive VP with Social Security Works. And he really leaned into this as a national issue. It affects pretty much everybody either you're 1 or 2 degrees of separation from someone that's impacted by what Doge and Musk and certainly the administration are trying to do to Social Security benefits. So Alex was great to chat with, and we'll have him back in the future. So there you go, guys. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll bring you a couple of Choose Views news and talk a little bit about what's happening and some things to do this weekend here in the good old windy city of Chicago. This is Choose Views, 773-763-9278. We'll be right back.
If you've turned 65 recently like me, it's important you find a Medicare Advantage plan that gives you the coverage you're looking for. But finding one can be difficult. The best thing I did, and I suggest you do the same, is call a licensed insurance agent and let them walk you through your Medicare Advantage plan options. There are so many benefits you have access to, so make the call now and let the representatives explain everything to you. Our licensed insurance agents can offer you a variety of Medicare Advantage plans. Plus, the call is free, the information is free, and there's no obligation to enroll. We're here to make it easy for you to select a Medicare Advantage plan that may work for your needs. Finding a Medicare Advantage plan can be easy if you do what I did. Make a quick call right now to learn more. Thank you.
800-365-6303. 800-365-6303. 800-365-6303. That's 800-365-6303.
Nearly 1 in 2 U.S. adults have high blood pressure. That's why it's important to self-monitor your blood pressure in 4 easy-to-remember steps. It starts with a monitor. Be next to talk to your doctor about your blood pressure numbers. Get down with your blood pressure. Self-monitoring is power. Visit managerbp.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, the American Heart Association, and the American Medical Association, in partnership with the Office of Minority Health and Health Resources and Services Administration.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
You're listening to Choose View with Richard Chu on WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk.
Hey, progressives, welcome back to Choose Views. Today on Live, Local, and Progressive, Jonas Esposito will be taking your calls and talking to Tom Hartman, Professor Joel Ostro, and legal analyst Joe Wine-Banks. Live, Local, and Progressive, weekdays, 2 to 5 p.m. here on WCPT, Chicago's progressive talk for 20 years. You've heard us talking about it because we've got our anniversary tomorrow. Tonight on Driving It Home, Patty Vasquez will be joined by guest co-host Hal Sparks, and their guests will be Stephanie Miller, Aubrey Weber, Executive Director of 907 Initiative, an Alaska-based government watchdog organization working to increase public transparency for state and local government. Driving It Home, of course, with Patty Vasquez, weekdays 5 to 7 p.m. Central on WCPT, AM, Heartland Signal website, TuneIn, YouTube, and Facebook. So there you go, guys. It's going to be a super, super busy day. Joan and Patty are going to be bringing it to you in the afternoon and the evening. Looking forward to it. And you guys, remember, we really want to get your WCPT story. So as we celebrate our 20 years on air, we want to hear from you and hear your WCPT story. You can call 773-467-8202 today and leave a voicemail. We'll be playing some of the messages on the air, and that number again is 773-467-8202. Patty's voice will greet you and suggestions, provide you with suggestions for recording your story. So make it happen, guys. Make your way over there. All right, Henry, let's see what we've got for folks when it comes to today's May 2nd Choose Views news. Google CEO decrees a breakup pitch. Alphabet CEO Sundar Pichai railed against the Department of Justice's proposal to force Google to sell its Chrome browser while on the stand during a proceeding to determine the remedies for Google's search monopoly, calling the plan, quote, so far-reaching, so extraordinary. GM expects a $5 billion hit from the tariffs. That GM has crunched those numbers on the tariffs, and though many companies have pulled their annual earnings guidance this season due to the volatility about trade policy, GM now expects tariffs to take as much as a $5 billion bite out of its profits this year. In January, the automaker had projected annual earnings of $15.7 billion. On Thursday, it lowered that guidance to $10 billion. From $10 billion down to $12.5 billion, according to CNN. The first major company to put a dollar estimate on President Trump's tariffs plans. So, jobless claims climb as this growth in the economy is lagging. New and continued job applicants are ramping up at the latest sign of the labor market stress. While first-time filings for unemployment benefits rose more than expected last week to 241,000, continuing claims have reached the highest level in more than 3 years. Out-of-work Americans are taking longer to find new jobs amid massive cuts at the federal level earlier this year. And what that means is there's more people in the job pool, so that reduces the opportunities. Economists expect slowing payroll growth from the Labor Department when they release their reports later today. So we'll pay attention to that. Tesla is denying a planned executive shakeup. Tesla quietly began to explore finding a replacement for its CEO Elon Musk last month, according to the Wall Street Journal, citing anonymous sources. Per the journal, the EV's maker's broad list of potential executive firms and search firms has been searching for a while, longer than reported. It is unclear whether the search is still ongoing. Tesla chair Robin Denholm has denied the report. McDonald's, here we are. U.S. sales have dropped quite a bit. They reported its largest U.S. same-store sales drop since mid-2020, when many states were dealing with the lockdown due to COVID. This time around, it was budget-conscious customers and bad weather that proved a drag on the chain's sales. Revenue also dropped about 3% in the first quarter of the year. And there you go, guys. A little bit of Choose Views news here this Friday, May 2nd, 2025. And since it's Friday, it's time to figure out what to do. And if you got something going on already, that's great. But we want to just kind of keep you guys plugged into some things that you can get around and out and about doing in Chicago if you're here, as we always say. But if you're living here, I should say, but if you're visiting, some things that you may not know about if you happen to be listening to our show. The Book of Grace, which started back in March, is going to be running through mid-May at the Steppenwolf Theater, 1650 North Halstead. Very good play and a good group of folks that you want to check out there. The Franz West, that's happening in Millennium Park. Franz West Millennium Park features 2 monumental installations by West, Stonehenge and Dorrit, set against the iconic backdrop of Millennium Park. That's taking place today in Millennium Park. Teatro Zazani. Tickets on sale right now for Love, Chaos, and Dinner. That returns to the vibrant Chicago Loop and will be at the Spiegel Tent Cambria Hotel, 32 West Randolph. So you can make your way over there. The Marriott Theater presents Titanic the Musical. Chicagoland's longest-running musical theater, Marriott Theater, continues its 50th anniversary celebration. Everybody's celebrating anniversaries right now. So make your way over to the Marriott Theater, 10 Marriott Drive. And then, for tours and attractions, The World Within, Chicago's original and best architecture tour, interiors tour. That's taking place in the Loop and River North today. And if you are a writer and gamer, Level Up is happening here in Chicago. That's at the American Writers Museum. Embark on a thrilling adventure into the world of game writing. Level Up, gamers and writers take you on a journey from the 1970s to today. And then if you want to get out and enjoy a little bit of the park systems that we have, Garfield Park is definitely ramping up its spring flower show at the Garfield Park Observatory. That's another wonderful place here in the city of Chicago that you can go and hang out and get a little nature in, get a little walking in. So that way you can, as we talked earlier this week with our folks from the Arboretum, you can take advantage of all of our good nature here in the Chicagoland area. So there you go. Make it out. Get something to do. Enjoy yourselves. I will say weather's going to be, I'm not going to say it's not going to be great, but it'll be a little bit wonky this weekend. So make sure that if you're out and about today that you take a little jacket or windbreaker or something that you got as a little bit of a cover. And tomorrow should be partly sunny, so that should be a nice day. And then on Sunday, we could have a little bit of rain. So just be mindful of that. Make sure to stay tuned for our progressive lineup. That includes the Stephanie Miller Show, my radio sister on the West Coast, Tom Hartman Show, professor of everything progressive, Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive. And, of course, Patty Vasquez, my bookend, Driving You Home. And Patty's going to have some great guests later on today. So there you go, guys. I got to tell you, excuse me, we've had, going back to talking about the anniversary, we've had some really great voices that have chimed in throughout the course of the week. And that's what's going to be exciting about the event tomorrow, and the ability for people to really kind of, share their thoughts and their some of their good stories in history about being a part of WCPT at some point along the way. And I think the other cool thing about the anniversary celebration is it's going to give us an opportunity to talk a little bit about the future and some of the things that we want to be able to do and to share with everyone as we go forward. So just a reminder that if you have a ticket, the anniversary broadcast at Max and Benny's is tomorrow from 11 a.m. The doors open at 10:30. We look forward to seeing you there. If you don't have a ticket, we hope you'll tune in between 11 and 3 p.m. to hear Hal Sparks, Scott Duff, Joan Esposito, Patty Vasquez, and I live as we have our special guests during the broadcast. The event is sponsored again by Max and Benny's Restaurant, Fazio Insurance, Smart 265, the Democratic Party of Kane County, Southland Friends of Labor, Democratic Party of McHenry County Democratic Women, and ABOC. So there you go. Now you know what to do. Now you know where to go. And now you know who's helping us make it happen. So, all right, Henry, let's take a little tiny break, and then we come back. We'll be able to talk to our good friend Karen Byrne from TruBlu Politics podcast. The number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers. So we build specially adapted homes at Homes for Our Troops. And thanks to our donors and supporters, this life-changing gift of freedom is provided mortgage-free to these veterans. But we need you to join us, too, in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see a few spotty rain showers at times here for today with cloudy skies and a high into the lower 60s, while winds out of the northwest around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Then for tonight, a slight chance for some rain, cloudy, a low near 45. By Saturday, a slight chance for rain showers, cloudy, high 52 degrees. Then by Sunday, chance for rain and high around 54. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 50.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
It's Choose View with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk.
Hey, progressive, welcome back to Choose View, 773-763-9278. Well, it's Friday, so that means that we happen to have our good friend Karen Byrne from TruBlu Politics podcast on the line. Good morning, Karen, and welcome to the show.
Good morning, Richard. Thank you, as always, for having me.
Absolutely.
It's a very rainy Friday morning.
I know, right? And rainy and windy, and it's the 2nd of May. I remember. I remember about. Oh gosh, this was probably over 20 years ago. I got together with a group of guys, had a little bit of a golf outing, and it was the first weekend. It was the first Saturday in June, and I kid you not. It started raining about 6 o'clock, 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, and it rained the majority of the morning. And it rained for a bit and then it stopped, but the temperature dropped to 49 degrees. I think it was 49.
Wow.
I think it was 49 degrees. I mean, it was low 50s for about an hour, and a lot of guys showed up, and a couple of the ladies showed up that played in the outing with shorts on or golf skirts on, and it was quite a thing to watch. So many folks who were like chilled to the bone, but then the weather blew through and temperature got better, and it turned out to be a good outing. But I remember like, oh my goodness, and this was like the first week of June. So every now and again, Chicago will throw us a curveball when we think it should be today's 60. It's going to be a high of maybe 52. So there you go.
Yeah. I'm looking at I'm at like 49 right now, but I mean, it's we get a mixed bag here in Chicago.
Yeah, we do. Yes, we do.
We really do.
So we all are in this. I'm going to play a clip that I want you to hear, and then when we come back from the clip, we'll talk about it. It's let's go to the Mitch Landrieu clip.
Well, folks, here we are in the worst first 100 days that we've seen in the history of the America. I mean, you really got to work hard to be as bad as Donald Trump and his team have been in the last few days. And I mean starting a dumpster fire, not only in America, but across the world. And of course, he started off by betraying the working men and women of the United States of America, the ones he promised that he was going to reduce costs to. And what did he do instead? He got in a trade war with not only our enemies, but with our friends as well, and in many instances gave our enemies a pass. And what was the consequence? Raising expenses on everything that we need to make our lives easier. On top of that, all his folks on the Hill are getting ready to slash health care. And why? All to give a tax cut to the rich. It is a dumpster fire of epic proportion, and one that we have to work hard to stop. So now it's time to fight back. It's either now or never.
So I wanted to play that clip just to kind of set the table for part of our conversation this morning. He lays it out with no apologies in his voice of this first 100 days of this administration. And I wanted to get your thoughts, since we haven't talked about it since last week or talked about it at all. I wanted to get your thoughts. What are your observations? What do you see, and where do you feel that we have to go?
Well, he didn't need an hour or two special to go over the first 100 days. I thought he summed it up very nicely. I mean, it's almost beyond comparison. I mean, it almost seems, comedic to even try and compare it to anything any other administration has done. This has been, as we feared, when we spent a year leading up to the election warning about the dangers of the Heritage Foundation and Project 2025 and what the Republican Party wanted to do to dismantle and destroy our democracy. I think that, it's everything and more. I mean, it's one thing to sit and imagine it or see it written down and think, okay, well, how are they going to be able to do that? Certainly there's going to be some, Republicans are going to, step up and not allow this to happen. But clearly what we have witnessed with, Elon Musk not confirmed by Congress, given, permission to go into government break-in, in some cases, government agencies and non-government institutions with his Doge hackers to steal our data. And potentially the reporting is that they were transmitting some of our data over to Russia. It's so much worse than I could have imagined. And then, you wrote in your Substack all of the economic impact that this is going to have. And I think that we are going to be digging out of this if we can manage to take control of the House and Senate in the midterms. We are going to be digging out of this hole for a very long time. I couldn't have imagined the damage that could be done in such a short time, honestly, even though we did, discuss it, but, between the two of us.
Well, what do you think will be our, and I know it's a long way away, and if we count the days, it's in the minutes, it's even seemingly longer. But what do you see are some of the key things that the Democratic Party has to do? And I mean the Democratic leadership as well as the Democratic voters or progressive liberal Democratic voters have to do now and going forward to make that happen in the midterms.
Well, first of all, we need to organize. We need to focus on the central issue, which is dealing with Donald Trump and the Republican Party, who are hell-bent on destroying our democracy. So that means taking to the streets, as many of us have, focusing on getting our oxygen masks on here, and bring awareness to, people that may be just going about their daily lives, working 2-3 jobs, and just maybe noticing now that, prices are going up, making sure that they understand what's happening and why in our conversations, right? We need to be registering voters. We need to be making sure that, I think that we have great people like Mark Elias who have been doing the work of, making sure that we protect our voting rights as best we can. But so for all of us, that's what we need to be doing. We need to be doing what we have, what you and I and others that kind of marinate in this stuff have always done, but we need to make sure that other people are waking up and getting on board and mobilizing. We need to be calling our members of Congress, whether they're Democratic or Republican, and demanding that they fight to protect our civil rights, to protect our data. I say this, I'm extremely disappointed, quite frankly, that more of our Democratic leaders do not seem to understand that obstructing is what is necessary right now. Obstruct everything. Yeah. I heard Ruben Gallego say that he voted to confirm one of Trump's picks because, they're like, if we don't, we have to look at everything and, who's going to come in behind this terrible person, maybe somebody even more awful if we don't, vote to confirm. And I would argue, I don't think it matters. I really don't think it matters. What who potentially could be coming behind this person. You need to obstruct.
Yeah, stop
it now. Democrats need to stop going along to get along. And this is not business as usual. And I'm just going to give a full hearty FU to Gretchen Whitmer for meeting with Donald Trump, greeting him with a hug.
Yeah.
And she's been having these little secret meetings in the Oval Office, apparently, that now is coming out. I don't understand what is going on, but Democratic leadership needs to be taking their cues from AOC, Bernie Sanders. Yes, he's an independent, but Tim Walz.
How about as a governor,
J.B. Pritzker?
Yeah,
Pritzker.
Governor should be right now. Sorry, Karen. Governors now throughout the country, in terms of fighting back, need to be taking, I think, their cues, and I said this a bunch of times, from J.B. Pritzker, and I can't even. I've had so many observations about Governor Whitmer, and so many people that said that when we were looking at candidates for the Democratic ticket, said that she wasn't ready. She's been a great governor, and this is what I'm disappointed about, is that they're not following J.B. Pritzker's lead, and I think he is the one that's setting the tone as a governor. And that she, as many as like Gavin Newsom, have forgotten. And I ask myself the question: what is it that makes them forget? Because it's obvious that you can't genuflect, you can't kiss the knee, you can't let that person get up on you. Literally, and so I'm really challenged to this situation, because it's obvious that Governor Pritzker has his thumb on the pulse of what Americans want to see. And I don't care if Donald Trump came to Michigan and spoke. He spoke and slammed the Democratic Party. He slammed Democratic voters. He went down a path of just making awful statements about former President Biden. And it was... I just don't understand where she went on this, because due to the fact that, if you guys remember this, she was a near about victim of murder because of what the people that were following Trump and his militia were trying to do to her. So there's no way on the planet I'm going to get close to somebody that, and on top of that, he trash talked her when she started to make her ascent post this near about tragedy. And so that one, I'll be honest with you, I was more surprised than I was angry about it or disappointed. I was actually surprised, because I'm going, what the hell happened? But I'm not going to try to figure that out. What I want us to try to focus on is getting people in the direction of the thoughts and the leadership that's coming from our own J.B. Pritzker right here in Illinois, rather than because, again, this is one of those, I don't know what went on behind the scenes, blah, blah, blah. We want to say it shouldn't have happened. She shouldn't have. We want to say all those things because that's what we believe. At the same time, I'm going to check the box of, I'm disappointed with what she did, and keep my energy focused on let's get behind J.B. Pritzker and the message that he has as a governor, and Tim Walz as well.
But there has to be some, understanding and acknowledgement. It's like, there was a natural disaster in Arkansas. They refused to send aid to Arkansas. What makes you think that, is that the calculation? Because she needs something, she doesn't want to, she wants to look out for her constituents in the event of, right?
Right.
But, it just, to me, it is like
I think right now Democratic leaders
understand it.
I think right now Democratic leaders have got to make the calculation better, which is to try to keep Donald from coming after you what you should be focused more on is telling him, you won't come after me. I've got the power of my voters in my district, in my state, behind me. And I think that that's what people want to hear versus I was trying to make nice. I was trying to go. I don't think people want to hear that. They want to hear leaders say, this is how I'm going to fight. I'm going to fight to the end. I'm not going to, genuflect to this because what he's doing is wrong. Right. I don't think you can go any other way than that. I think you have to be, willing to say, I'm going to stand up and fight no matter what. So again, my place in this is I'm disappointed in this situation with her, and I'm going to check the box of disappointment at the same time. I will defer to the leadership that J.B. Pritzker is showing, and governors,
he's doing it right.
Governors like Janet Mills, governors like Tim Walz, who are saying no, we're going to punch a bully in the face. So
that's right.
And,
that's what we need to see. That's what Democratic voters, that's what the base needs to see. That is what, and honestly, the people that are apathetic and have been staying home or whatever, that's the problem. The reason it's so infuriating to me is because I hear people sit there and say, oh, the do-nothing Democrats, or, the both-siderism and all this, and like they're all the same. And it's like, and then, and granted, thank goodness, she's the exception, not the rule, but, this is not the moment that we're in. We are not in this moment. And Chuck Schumer, I've been calling his office. We all need to be calling his office and telling him to put the country over his ego. He is not the right guy for our leadership, and it's like, and that I say that all of that to say, again, the Republican Party got us to this point and they can stop it.
Yeah.
And we need, for all of these, leaving MAGA types or the people that are now just waking up, oh, I made a mistake. Oh, I didn't know what I was voting for. Blah. They knew what they were voting for, by the way. We all know what it was. Dog whistle, dog whistle.
Yeah.
But
I had a really
bullhorn. Yeah.
I had a really good text that came this morning in this conversation around any of our politicians, and it's a fair statement to make and a fair one to read. That behind the scenes is what we don't know about, and those are my words. But to the reality about the calculation, there are to your point about where Whitmer is in this conversation. She has an experience that you and I and millions of others don't have, and that's the political death threat coming at them and an attempt on her life. We don't have that in our lives. So and it was said to me that, there's a lot of Republicans out there that are frankly kind of crazy. And, politicians are people and they're mortal just like the rest of us. And I get that. I will say that's the reason why I say I'm disappointed. And I can check that box. At the same time, I have to kind of be mindful of what we don't know was going on in that situation, because she is the one governor that a group of people decided to come after her, to literally come after her life. So it's a balancing act.
But here's the thing about what we do know, Richard, is that, there are people in this country that very much are under threat. There are people, and I don't have to tell you this. And
they're
you know what I mean? I don't want to hear about, I really don't. I don't want to hear about the fear. They fear this, they fear that. That's why they're doing this. I can't imagine it either, but this is the thing. You chose to be in a leadership position. Yeah. So guess what you need to do? You need to work your butt off just like our governor is doing. I mean, do you think JB's,
Well, yeah, and that's the thing.
He's under the same kind of threat,
He's probably received, without a doubt, it's particularly JB, given what he's been saying. I think the consensus conversation right now from a lot of people is that the Democratic leaders have to stand up, even in the face of this, because kind of what you just said, there are a lot of people who their threat is ongoing because of the way in which these executive orders have immediately critically impacted their lives. There's no question about this. So their threat is a different threat, but it's still their livelihood. And yesterday, Alex Lawson talked about the conversation around Social Security, and he said the delay for someone who's dependent exclusively and solely on Social Security, a 30-day or a 60-day delay could mean that they could die. So the threat is the threat of Trump is the ultimate threat, and so we want to see all of our leaders. I mean, Josh Shapiro is a good example. He was literally just recently by a third party and a crazy person. So we want to see them all come together, and I've been saying this for months now, as in a united front, in a way in which they show the country, their state, and the country, if not the world, that we are a united front against this fool. I think that's got to be the message that's coming from the Democratic Party. If there is a connected message, it's got to be that one. So what'd you think?
Yes, obstruct, because everything is on the line for all of us out here. Everything. What the HHS is doing, our health care, vaccinations. I mean, the information that we're going to be receiving. Any government, you cannot trust the U.S. government website anymore. The COVID page is complete fiction, and just more of the same. Trump rhetoric. But anyway, yeah. So we are. That's
I'm not
the
gonna...
thing. The threat to all of us. Yeah, the threat to all of us requires our leadership that chose to be in the positions that they're in to fight for us and fight the way we need them to fight. But okay, so anyway, but you wanted to talk about something else now. I know.
No, that's all right. I want to make the part about any of our leaders that I think has to be made clear, and I'm going to be very quick in making it unapologetically. They are human. They're going to be put in that situation that we aren't in. And although I'm disappointed in the situation with Gretchen Whitmer, I'm still going to support her because I don't want to see her support wane because of that. That was, in my observation, a mistake or maybe a political calculation that didn't go right. We all make calculations that don't go right. So that's where I see it. And
old girl had a folder up in front of her face. She knew what she was doing was not going to land well. Just saying.
Well, and I think that's the risk that that's the dice that she rolled, and it maybe didn't roll
that's
particularly for her for rolling a dice that way. I wanted to chat with you a little bit about this, as I said in the opening of the show, this sort of failing forward. With this nomination of a guy that fails in one area and in a matter of hours, if not minutes, is nominated to be or appointed or whatever the right term is going to be as UN ambassador. I mean, how do you go from being failing in the Justice Department and not even doing a 180, doing a 90-degree turn to suddenly be.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm going to hashtag that one. Typical day of a white male in America.
Mediocreness at its finest.
Mediocrity. I mean, what was it? The big thing on social media now. It's like Mike Walls has left the chat. So.
It's a situation where I sit back and go, wow, in a matter of hours, if not minutes, it goes from a public failing to, a pivot to a position that is going to require a certain amount of security and a certain amount of minding of the data and minding of the information and minding of all of these things, which he's been a part of a big failure in the first place. It just kind of made me shake my head that, wow.
I'm like Kimberly Guilfoyle must be sitting in Greece, kind of pissed off. I would have expected ambassador to Timbuktu, but the UN, really?
I know.
I mean,
that's the most significant ambassadorship that we have, and you're going to nominate a guy to it that is proven, literally, just publicly was proven that he failed in an area that he shouldn't have failed or didn't have to fail because it's an easy protocol to follow. But there you go, Karen. It does make you laugh. It does make you sit back and go, damn, how,
we have to look for our spots to just kind of laugh, I guess. But I just want to say, because I know we're kind of coming up against a break here, but I want to say I look forward to tomorrow. I'm very excited to see everybody.
It's going to be fun. Looking forward to it. It's going to be a good old time, a good anniversary of WCPT. Karen Byrne, TruBlu Politics podcast. Follow her. Check out her stuff. Thanks for being with me this morning. Thanks for chopping it up.
Thank you.
I'll see you tomorrow. All right, Karen. Have a good day.
See you tomorrow. Okay, you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
She is not having it with Governor Whitmer. And I understand where she's coming from. I can check the box of being disappointed, but I'm not angry with her. I'm disappointed and most definitely want to make sure, as I said, Democratic leaders follow the lead of Governor J.B. Pritzker. He is the one that's setting the tone right now. Others are been out and doing and saying things. And AOC and Byrne are certainly at the top of the list, or not top of the list, but high on that list. Governor Walz is, Governor Shapiro is, and many others. But J.B. Pritzker is setting the tone. And I think that the tone that he's setting is, under all circumstances, we have to fight back. Even if Donald Trump comes to you, comes to your space, comes to your state, and is trying to manipulate the situation, you have to fight back. Because I know that Mayor Johnson and I are going to talk a little bit about this in the 7:30 hour, about fighting back. And, Mayor Johnson's not taking any crap from anybody about his willingness to fight back and speak his truth to Trump and to the Trump administration and what they're trying to do, and Tom Homan and all the rest. So, I just feel that it's not going to be perfect, but the fight has to be there, and our people have to be willing to do that. And I know that a lot of folks have different thoughts and opinions about that, but the one thing that has to be consistent is that our leaders have to fight. We have to fight. I want to see, and then this is just how I'm observing this, I want to see a little bit more cohesiveness in the fight. I don't want to see our leaders going off on different tangents. And I think that one of the things that I'd like to see is preparation. And what do I mean by preparation? If you know that Donald Trump is coming your way, be prepared for the garbage that he's going to bring. Do you know what I mean? Be prepared for that. Don't be surprised. He's pretty easy to read. He's not that difficult to read. So be prepared for what he's coming to bring to you. And I'll give an example of what I mean by that. That little thing he does with the handshake. Governor Newsom was prepared for it. So, be prepared for when Donald Trump comes to your area to not to accept his garbage. He's dragging a bag of garbage with him and he wants to dump it on you. Be ready to dodge that garbage or put up an umbrella and, put it back on him. I don't think that's too difficult. But all right, guys, let's take a quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
Every 40 seconds, a child is reported missing. That's 2,000 children every single day. It's a heart-wrenching reality that we can no longer ignore. Find the Children is a non-profit organization dedicated to helping find missing kids. You can be a part of their mission by donating your unwanted vehicle, running or not. Call 1-800-775-5622. We guarantee that you will receive the maximum tax deduction. We provide fast, free pickup with 24-hour response. Call 1-800-775-5622. Find the Children provides crucial resources to help find missing children and educational materials to teach kids how to recognize and avoid predators. Our recovery programs have a proven track record of reuniting kids with their families. It's time to act. Donate your unwanted or unused car. Help us build a world where every child is safe. Pick up the phone and call 1-800-775-5622. Together, we can bring these kids home safely. This advertisement was paid for by Cars R Us and Find the Children.
When I left the military, I was excited for a fresh start, but civilian life has been harder than I thought it would be. Figuring out a new career while also being a good mom, wife, and friend. Some days I'm barely keeping my head above water. I finally realized that it's hurting my mental health. To get back to enjoying life again, I needed to get help. Discover how other women veterans like me have learned to thrive after military service by taking care of themselves and their mental health. Visit maketheconnection.net/womenveterans.
A tree can be a warrior, battling global challenges with greater courage. A tree can be a solution, cleaning our air, supporting our communities, and protecting our wildlife. A tree can be noble, growing hope in every corner of the world. That's why now is the time for trees. Millions of trees. Join our planting movement at arborday.org.
The Hal Sparks radio program.
We wouldn't even have Tesla if it wasn't for Barack Obama. Obama insisted that there be funding for electric car companies in the rescue package in 2009. And Tesla was the single biggest beneficiary of it because they were further ahead, because Elon Musk had bought Tesla as a company outright and was pretending to run it, as he does right now.
Hal Sparks, Saturdays from 11 to 1 on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk. Amy Goodman reports on the news stories rarely covered by the corporate media. Democracy Now!
The UN's Humanitarian Affairs Office warned Palestinian children are at high risk of injury or death from unexploded ordnance left after more than 13 months of Israeli attacks. 8-year-old Mohammed Karmash, this is his mother.
No one was there to tell him that these are explosives that the Israelis throw.
Democracy Now! Weekday evenings at 10 on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Thanks to our loyal WCPT listeners, the WCPT 20th anniversary broadcast is officially sold out.
But you can still enjoy the broadcast by listening to WCPT Radio on Saturday, May 3rd from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Hal Sparks will kick things off at 11 a.m., then hand it off to WCPT hosts Richard Chu, Joan Esposito, Patty Vasquez, and Scott Duff at 1 o'clock.
Surprise guests from WCPT's 20-year history will also join us.
Scroll through 20 years of WCPT Radio with legendary interviews, shows, and pictures on the WCPT 820 website. WCPT's live broadcast is sponsored by Max and Benny's Restaurant in Northbrook, Fazio Insurance, Smart 265, Kane County Dems, Southland Friends of Labor, Democratic Party of McHenry County, and McHenry County Democratic Women. It's the WCPT 20th anniversary live broadcast Saturday, May 3rd from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Only on WCPT 820, Chicago's only progressive talk radio station for 20 years.
Stop struggling to get your job posting on other job sites. Indeed's sponsored job feature helps you stand out and hire fast. Start at Indeed.com/credit.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. Mike Waltz is out as National Security Advisor after President Trump announced he's nominating him as United Nations Ambassador. Secretary of State Marco Rubio would take over as acting National Advisor. AP Washington correspondent Sagar Magani reports that's news to the State Department spokeswoman.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio's added duties came as a surprise to his spokeswoman.
So we've got a lot of activity down here in the first row.
As Tammy Bruce was briefing reporters, they read her President Trump's post that Rubio's the new acting National Security Advisor.
I just heard this from you.
Bruce says while she has some insights on things that could happen, nothing's decided until the president decides it, and it's a fast dynamic.
These last 100 days, it's like hanging on to a freaking bullet train.
Sagar Magani at the White House.
A negotiation deal from Washington to end the war in Ukraine seems likely to be favorable to Russia. President Trump has repeatedly rebuked Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and indicated Kyiv would have to surrender territory and forego NATO membership. membership. But President Trump has also sent mixed signals, including social media posts expressing doubt that Russia's Vladimir Putin wants to end the war in Ukraine. Israel's Air Force struck near Syria's presidential palace on Friday after warning Syrian forces not to march toward villages inhabited by members of a minority religious sect in southern Syria. The strike comes after days of clashes between pro-Syrian government gunmen and fighters who belong to the Druze minority sect. Dozens of people were reported dead or wounded. A drone struck a ship carrying aid to Gaza off the coast of Malta on Friday. The vessel was trying to get food and supplies to people in Gaza and belonged to the Gaza Freedom Flotilla. Malta's government said no casualties were reported. Israel's army did not respond to a request for comment. For 2 months, Israel has blocked humanitarian aid from entering Gaza. It's believed to be the worst humanitarian crisis since the war began. This is AP News. AP correspondent Lawrence Brooks reports on Russell Brand's court hearing on charges of sexual assault and rape.
Actor and comedian Russell Brand has arrived at a London court to face charges of rape and sexual assault involving 4 women. The 49-year-old was swarmed by photographers as he arrived at Westminster Magistrates Court for his first hearing since being charged last month. He faces 1 count of rape, 1 of indecent assault, 1 of oral rape and 2 of sexual assault, all of which he denies. In September 2023, British media outlets Channel 4 and the Sunday Times published claims by 4 women of being sexually assaulted or raped by Brand. The alleged offences took place between 1999 and 2005. Brand has hosted television and radio shows, appeared in several Hollywood movies, and more recently has disappeared from mainstream media, building up a large online following by sharing videos pushing conspiracy theories.
I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see a few spotty rain showers at times here for today with cloudy skies and a high into the lower 60s, while winds out of the northwest around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Then for tonight, a slight chance for some rain, cloudy, a low near 45. By Saturday, a slight chance for rain showers, cloudy, high 52 degrees. Then by Sunday, chance for rain and high around 54. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 48. At Straight Talk, we are all about no-brainers. Calling Grandma for her recipe, no-brainer. Streaming one more episode at 2 a.m., big no-brainer. Getting real unlimited data where you buy bananas, the ultimate no-brainer. Switch now and get a free Samsung Galaxy A16 5G or Moto G Power 5G 2024 with select plans. Straight Talk, real unlimited data. Available at Walmart and straighttalk.com. Offer valid through 5/19/25. Taxes and fees apply. Requires in-store single line activation on qualifying plan. For network management practices, visit straighttalk.com/terms. Copyright 2025 Verizon.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Welcome back to Chew's Views with Richard Chew on WCPT 820 AM, where facts matter. Take it away, Richard.
Hey, progressives, welcome back to Chew's Views, 773-763-9278. Great to be back with you. There we go. That's an exhale, wasn't a deep breath. In chatting with Karen about what's happening with leadership and such, everybody's going to approach this from a different angle. What I'd like to see, and let me be clear again, is Democratic voices in leadership in a similar direction, cohesiveness. I believe that's the thing that so many people are they're drawn to that, and the message is not difficult. The message is to make sure that Trump's chaos and craziness, that there's a fight to push back against it. And I think that's why, you see the comparison of J.B. Pritzker to, other governors. And I could single out, I could spend a day talking about the disappointment and the dislike for what Gretchen Whitmer did, how she approached it, as I did, and as I have with Gavin Newsom, with the podcast thing, as I have with Chuck Schumer, as I have, frankly, with Hakeem Jeffries in certain moments, and the list goes on. I think I've tried to be somewhat fair and reasonable in criticizing when they do something that, from an optic standpoint, and maybe even deeper than that, gives people pause. So, I know that they see things that we don't get to see inside and behind the curtain. I understand that. There's no, there's no fooling me there, or there's certainly no naivete there, in that they are seeing things and hearing things that we don't get to see and hear. So as we talk about what they're seeing and what they're hearing that we don't, what they need to do is show us what they're seeing and hearing that's impacting the decisions to do X, Y, and Z. Because I think that so many people will then otherwise draw their conclusions. Chuck Schumer went on air after his after the signing of the bill a few weeks ago, and he went on and tried to, in some ways, clean that up or to better explain it. And I said then, I understand his explanation, I just don't agree with it. And I think that more people want to see that. They still may disagree with it, but at least they may understand what this person's calculations were. And you guys can throw all kinds of whatever at me about that way of approaching it. But at the end of the day, I think if we can have a better understanding of what was driving their decision to do something that may call for an FU from people, or you were stinky from people, I don't like you from people, at least explain your rationale. Then folks will understand, I think, or at least they'll have a better way. They'll be one step closer here, and they're going, okay, I get why he or she did it. I still don't agree with it, but I get why. I think that's the method. That's a position that we have to take, or at least give them that room as they navigate through this awfulness. Because, by comparison, you look at what J.B. Pritzker is doing. He's letting people know, here's why I'm standing on business the way that I am. And Governor Tim Walz is doing the same thing. And other Democratic governors are saying why they are taking the positions that they're taking in opposing Trump. And so many people are going, that's what I want to hear. So we're gonna throw dislike and disappointment to our leaders. It's going to happen. I just want them to be willing to say, here's why I did it. Here's what was on my mind. Here's the reasoning. And I believe when that happens, it gives the community, the voters, the citizenry and Americans at large, at least a peek into what they're thinking about. Not doing that gives people the other thought, which is, oh God, yet another one is slid into gone to the dark side. They've kissed the ring. So that's how I see it. I mean, I don't need that to be perfect even in delivering it to you. I need it to be something that you understand to where I stand on it. Unapologetically, we have to push them, if they're going to be that way, to tell us more. So I think it solves a lot of the mystery, or at least it gives us a little bit of insight into the mystery that we may have. Because like I've said so many times, if it's not explained, then it lets people open to their own devices to think something negative. So, speaking of J.B. Pritzker, we have two clips that we're going to play for you, because they do get into what I just said about the why and the where and the how in terms of his approach to this upcoming weeks and months in terms of the next elections, whether they be local, whether they be regional or national. So, Henry, let's go to the New Hampshire speech one first, and then we'll go to the future one.
I just wanted to start by asking, in my experience with big speeches like this, they kind of come from a fire in the heart of the person delivering them about something they really want to get off their chests. What did you tell your team who wrote the first draft about what you wanted people who watched it to take away from it?
Thanks, Jen. And look, let me be clear. We're in a perilous moment in this country. There is, tumult around everyone in this country. We've had our economic rights taken away. We've had our civil rights taken away. And it's only been 100 days. And it's time. People have to stand up, speak out. And I wanted my team to make sure that what we're conveying to people is that they do have power, even in this moment when they feel powerless, where there's a Congress that has given in entirely to a president who's frankly taken us off the rails and who lied to the American people when he ran and won in November. He told us he was going to lower prices for people. He told us that he was going to make the world a safer place, that he was going to bring peace in Ukraine. And the fact is he's done none of those things, and indeed the opposite of that. Now what he's doing is raising prices and taxes on middle-class Americans, working-class Americans, in order to give a massive tax cut to the wealthiest people in the country. So when you don't control Congress, when you don't control the White House, and people are feeling helpless and powerless, it's time for people to mobilize, and I wanted people to hear that they do have power.
And I think that that's the key there, that people do have power. And that's what I know. I don't just think this. I know more and more people are seeing that they have their power. It's just a question of how do I demonstrate it now? Where do I go? What rally, what event do I take part in? Even in the peril and the craziness that's going on. I was sent some really great words in this space. Yes, this is a national emergency. And so people have to do, and I believe, follow this direction that Governor Pritzker is talking about. Henry, let's go to the second clip.
I got to ask you, I've been around this a long time. I've done 3 presidential campaigns. You're not going to tell me right now what you're thinking about. You're going to say that you're thinking about and focus on the people of Illinois, as you should be. But I do want to ask you, have you thought about, you gave a barn burner speech in New Hampshire. Have you set yourself a timeline for when you might make a decision about your future plans?
Listen, I appreciate, I'm flattered by the question, and I can tell you this. It is about winning in 2026 for Democrats all across the country, because we've got to take the Congress back. If we're going to stop Donald Trump in his tracks, right, we've got to be out in the streets now and making our voices heard in order to win in 2026. If we don't win in 2026, I'm fearful that they're going to take away so many voting rights from so many people that won't vote for Donald Trump, that indeed will be completely iced out in 2028 and have no chance at all. So I'm about fighting for the people of Illinois by making sure that at the federal level, we stop them from taking away health care, from taking away jobs, from tanking the economy, from raising tariffs and making middle class and working class people suffer.
That's the kind of messaging that has to be consistent. That it's not a complicated message. Yes, it is a national emergency, but that's not a complicated message. And the governor has that. He's got that well in his wheelhouse right now. He's bringing that message on a regular basis. And yes, there are many other Democrats who are doing similar things, doing a version of that. And I just see that, and yeah, I recognize it. He's our governor, so I'm going to speak strongly about our governor. But he is out in front on this conversation, and at this point doesn't seem like he's blinking an eye. He's confident in his message, and to his point, he recognizes that for us to win back the House and the Senate, to take back Congress, it has to happen in 2026. And that the mobilization of Americans is going to be a big part of how that happens. So kudos to him, kudos to the others for what they're doing. Let's draw energy from what they're doing, what they're talking about, so that we can line up and be there to be, not only their backboard, but also the voices that push this agenda forward right now. Henry, let's take a quick break. He gave me the nod, by the way. The number is 773-763-9278. When we come back, we'll grab a couple of your calls.
Still struggling with gas, bloat, constipation, nausea, or diarrhea? Have you tried eliminating foods but felt no change? It's time to call the tummy whisperer, Renee Barish at Digestive Health Solutions. Renee uses targeted testing to reveal exactly what's happening in your gut. Gut bacteria plays a key role in all your body functions, from cardiovascular regulation to brain function. When the gut is imbalanced, you may experience symptoms that extend beyond the gut, such as anxiety, skin issues, poor sleep, or increased risk for disease. Digestive Health Solution uses advanced testing to identify harmful microbes and evaluate the overall balance of the gut ecosystem. Get insights into your health, digestion, and how your microbiome affects all aspects of your body. Stop suffering. Call Renee now at 847-207-2034 or visit thetummywhisperer.com. That number is 847-207-2034. Let's get you feeling better. The Tummy Whisperer.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
Good morning. You're waking up with Richard Chew.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
We're live and ready to hear from you. Text or call us now at 773-763-9278. Same number. Simple as that. Let's get the conversation going on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Welcome back, Progressives. Glad you're with us this morning, and I will tell you that as we get closer to our 7:30 guest, which is Chicago's Mayor Brandon Johnson, I see the calls are coming in. So let's, Henry, let's try to grab a couple quick calls. Let's go to Floyd here in the greater Chicago area. Hey, good morning, Floyd. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Richard, I'm going to tell you what. I'm looking forward to tomorrow. I'm also looking forward to the week after that because I haven't been to the synagogue since Trump won the election. And the reason I haven't gone to the synagogue since Trump won the election is there's just too many people who voted for him rather than a black, accomplished woman, okay?
Yep.
I call these people bigots, okay? That's who they are. And that's who they've always been. All right?
I have had a number of conversations, and then I've had a number of comments from people that have said, why don't I lean in more to the simple fact that Kamala Harris did not get elected had nothing to do with the economy, had nothing to do with the price of anything, that or the other. Oh. It had to do with the fact that a large number of people, even the ones that didn't vote, yet alone the ones that did vote for Trump, they could not vote for a black South Asian woman as president of the United States, and thereby being the most powerful person in the free world. I speak to that. I feel it all the time. So if I don't talk about that every day, it's not because I'm not aware of it. I'm fully aware of it. I also have to look at the other things that are part of what we have to do to try to fix our system, whether it be the Electoral College, whether it be voter suppression, whether it be kicking people out the voter rolls. And to your point, Floyd, whether it be the flat out fact that a lot of people are just hypocrites and bigots in this space. So I appreciate you giving us those words this morning. Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. You going to bring some T-shirts?
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow, too, because I'm going to have a lot of shirts for a bunch of people there. But I'm also looking forward to the May 10th. And I have another reason for May 10th. You see, I've been happily divorced for 50 years, so I'm going to the synagogue on May 10th to pay for the Kiddush so everybody can enjoy May 10th with me, celebrating 50 years of being happily divorced from Weird Wanda.
All right, Floyd, we will see you tomorrow, and I'll know you'll have T-shirts with you, so look forward to checking you out then. So, all right, man, have a good day. Thank you. Oh, my God, he's going to the synagogue, you guys. Oh, we love our listeners. We just do. All right, Henry, let's see what Donna in Rogers Park has to say this morning. Good morning, Donna. Welcome to the show. You're not. We can't quite hear you, Donna. Start over.
Oh, okay. Let me make sure.
Okay.
What about now?
Now we can hear you.
All right. I'm afraid that tradition and political diplomacy and protocol is in a lot of our current politicians' minds because they've never been experienced in this fascist, autocratic arena before. And I'm afraid that we need youth. We need young people that their minds haven't been corrupted, they haven't been programmed into tradition. Because right now, the battle that we're faced with, we need new approaches. We need different methodology. And these politicians have spent most of their career operating a certain way. And I just think that this loss is like they're just how to approach it. And I don't think that if they don't step aside, let the youth move forward, first of all, they have the fight. That's number one.
We're kind of losing your signal, Donna, and I know you're saying some very important things. So,
all right, let me see.
Yeah, you got to sit still probably this morning. You're probably walking around the house and checking out the rain and all that. But your point is well taken, and I think that's a constant conversation that's out there, or at least people want it to be out there, is doggone it, Dems, fight harder, fight nasty, or fight, don't be apologetic in your fight. I believe those are my words.
Look at it like this. If you're fighting a regulation fight in the ring with a street fighter, you can't observe the rules of the fight. You got to be a street fighter too.
Yeah, you do. You can observe, you can be aware that the rules exist, but you've got to be willing to bend them without breaking them to the direction of winning. And in this case, I think that's bending them isn't a bad thing. It's maybe pushing the envelope, maybe all kinds of words and fancying it up. But I know right now the national feeling, and I say that per community, the community feeling that's a national feeling is that Democrats across the board need to fight harder, or at least present an image of fighting harder. And I don't mean just a few.
Yeah, I mean, right now, the way they look, the Democratic politicians look so weak. First of all, they look unprepared for the fight. That's number one. They just look like they're out of their element.
Yeah, I mean, and I've seen that. I've observed that, and I won't say that they are, but that's the impression that's being given, and I will give them. I do my best, Donna, as you know, with this show to give them some space. But the reason I said earlier
that only goes so far, Richard. We got to push these people. We got to light a fire under them, because if we don't, like you said, like not like you said, like Governor Pritzker said, if we don't get this thing together by the midterm, we're going to be out.
And that's why they have to show us what I was going to say is, I give them some space, but they have to show us what they're doing. Eric Grant and I have talked about this for years on the family meeting. We need to know what they're doing. We need to know the why. And that will at least help people understand. If there's a reason, okay, tell us. We can maybe help you with that. Maybe we can help you galvanize a little bit better. But I agree with the governor. That's why I raised him to the top of the list in terms of that's the model. That's what J.B. Pritzker is doing right now. I will say this over and over again until it changes. That is the way in which a national voice and national leaders should be operating. And I know some people will say
that's why you can see that Governor Pritzker's ready for the White House.
He's ready right now.
We are so blessed here in Illinois, Richard.
We are.
If we hadn't had Governor Pritzker in there the first term that Trump was in there, and now, do you know, so many more people would have died. Sure. We've been blessed here in Illinois because of our politicians. Thank God for that.
Without a doubt. And we get criticized. Listen, all of us that support or try to provide some sort of guidance and partnership with our local and our state officials and elected leaders here, we get criticized for just wanting them to succeed. But at the end of the day, they're not perfect in their succeeding, but they doggone it are pushing the envelope, and they're fighting back against this tyranny, this national emergency. They all are. Everyone that I've talked to has said to me, Richard, I'm committed to fighting back against this right now. And yeah, we got city issues, we got county issues, we got state issues in Illinois. But
we got a lot of issues. But you know what? I always like to count the blessings before I look at the flaws.
Yes.
And thank God for having the people in office. I'm so glad I'm in Illinois. I can't imagine if I was in the South. I don't even want to think about that.
Yeah, I agree.
But you know what? I'm going to get off this phone because I know you're going to have our mayor in a minute, and maybe another call can get in. But I did want to say that, and I'm going to be listening tomorrow because I didn't get a ticket. I wasn't able to. But I'm looking forward to tomorrow.
Thank you, Donna. And thank you always for your contribution, and thank you for pushing us as well. We appreciate that, and we really do. So thanks, Donna.
Hey, WCPT WCPT has been a blessing these last 20 years. I can say that for sure.
Thank you.
But you take care now.
Thanks, Donna. We appreciate you. Have a great day. Yeah, see, Donna's the epitome of can walk and chew gum. She can criticize and compliment at the same time. Y'all need to keep your act straight and keep moving forward, and that's what we want. And I appreciate that type of commentary from Donna. Let's take a quick break, guys. We want to give ourselves a little bit of time and space to make sure we navigate getting Mayor Brandon Johnson on the air. The number is 773-7639-278. We'll be right back.
Frog in boiling water and it'll jump right out. But put a frog in cool water and slowly heat it up, that frog will boil. As veterans, we tell ourselves the lie that we can handle anything. We let the water boil. You are not a frog. If you or a veteran you know needs support, don't wait. Reach out. Find resources at va.gov/reach. That's va.gov/reach. Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
This is Tony Moret. I'm an estate planning lawyer who drafts living trusts and wills. Since the election, I've been hearing from my clients, many of them fellow WCPT listeners. And we all wonder, how did this happen and what can we do? The how is, of course, very complicated. My thoughts as regard to what we can do is simple but important. We need to take extra care of those we love. Having an estate plan using either a living trust or will can provide comfort in uncertain times like these. When the progressive values we hold dear are under attack, I feel we must make sure that our personal lives are secure and then work out from there. I've been drafting estate plans for my clients for over 30 years, and I will use all of that experience to help you. Please call me at 847-996-0496. My website is moreylawoffice.com. That's Morey spelled M-O-R-E-E. Again, the phone is 847-996-0496. There is no cost or obligation for our initial discussion. I look forward to speaking with you.
The family meeting.
I heard someone say this week somewhere on television. The difference with white history is that white history has demonstrated that they looked at land and people as something to be conquered versus lived with or nurtured. You see that going on right now. The Orange Menace in the White House, he doesn't see Gaza as an opportunity to create peace. He sees it as a place he can conquer and monetize.
Sundays 4 to 6 p.m., The Family Meeting.
Eleanor's diagnosis is acute myeloid leukemia.
This is a St. Jude moment.
Immediately when we got here, you get a nurse that walks around with you like for the first 3 days you're here to kind of give you the lay of the land and where to go. They know you're already drowning from the news that you're getting and why you're here, so they don't want you to have to figure stuff out by yourself. I know, like, you're here and you're not supposed to be happy or you're not supposed to smile, but it's hard not to when there's this giant community of strangers all working towards one goal. It doesn't matter where they come from, it doesn't matter what they believe, they are all fighting to end childhood cancer, and I think that's something that should be celebrated.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
You must have thrown 1,000 pitches teaching him to hit a home run. Spent countless Saturdays running routes so he could learn to hit an open receiver. Endless afternoons teaching him how to hit the three-pointer. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit? Teaching boys that all violence against women is wrong is one of the most important things a man can do. Learn how to start the conversation at teachearly.org. Brought to you by Futures Without Violence and the Ad Council.
Driving it home with Patty Vasquez.
Those of you who are hate listening, like the rage, the anger has got to be exhausting. So I want you to also take care of yourselves. Maybe take a step back. Try to be mindful about why you're calling people names online. I got called some more names today. I think they are getting a little bit tired. Maybe some of them are starting to have the fart around and find out effects.
Patty Vasquez, weeknights 5 to 7 on WCPT 820.
This is Morgan Freeman, executive producer of the documentary film The C Word.
And I'm here to tell you that defeating cancer takes breakthroughs. A breakthrough is the start of something extraordinary. To be breakthrough is to be brave. Many small breakthroughs can lead inevitably to a big breakthrough. The kinds of breakthroughs that advance the fight against cancer. The ones that save lives by the millions. You are the breakthrough. You, the patients, taking part in clinical trials. You, the scientists, doing next-level research to beat cancer. You, the doctors and nurses who tirelessly care for everyone along the way. Let's be the breakthrough.
To learn about screenings and clinical trials that may be right for you, go to standuptocancer.org/breakthrough. Stand Up to Cancer is a program of the Entertainment Industry Foundation. Please talk to your healthcare provider about appropriate screenings and clinical trials that may be right for you.
You are listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see a few spotty rain showers at times here for today with cloudy skies and a high into the lower 60s, while winds out of the northwest around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Then for tonight, a slight chance for some rain, cloudy, a low near 45. By Saturday, a slight chance for rain showers, cloudy, high 52 degrees. Then by Sunday, chance for rain and high around 54. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 48.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
And it's first Friday of May, 2025, which means First Fridays with Mayor Brandon Johnson from the great freaking city of Chicago. Mayor Johnson, I stole your words there, but they are powerful words and they make sense. Welcome to Choose Views. Good morning, sir.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me back, Richard. I'm always grateful to be with you and the WCPT Progressive Talk Radio audience. And it is the greatest freaking city in the world, the city of Chicago.
That's
Absolutely.
Right. Well, it's good to have you, as always, and I'm glad that you've been able to carve out a little bit of time. We'll get the train going and keep it quick so you can get about your day as well. This past week we saw what's going to be a big transition in national political leadership that's coming right out of the state of Illinois with both Senator Durbin and Representative Jan Schakowsky announcing that they would not be running again for their respective seats in the House and the Senate. What are your thoughts about that? I won't totally put you on the spot in terms of who you see as potentials for those seats. But what are your thoughts about the two of those folks in leadership and leaving their seats?
Yeah, well, these are two incredible individuals that have opened up lanes for progressive voices to really expand the opportunities that our democracy should afford for working people. Grateful for the service of the senior senator from Illinois, Senator Dick Durbin, and Jan Schakowsky. Both of them I've relied upon for their wisdom over the years as an educator and organizer, a Cook County commissioner, and obviously as mayor of Chicago. Can't think of two more incredible individuals that have really earned the honor of being exceptional public servants, and grateful for their legacy. And I think it does create an opportunity for this generation to put its stamp on this political moment. And it should be a very exciting primary season. And maybe there are potentially more to come.
Yeah, that's the big question. And it is going to be, I like the way you put that in terms of this generation to put their stamp on our future leadership. And that's obviously a question that a lot of people have been toying with and throwing out, that we need to have a shift in the Democratic Party in terms of leadership, chronological age and energy and all that. You're a representative of that in terms of chronological age. You're not 65 or 70 years old, and you haven't been, one that's done this for what people like to say, all their lives. You've been involved in on many different levels. And so, but it is nice to hear that folks like you are saying, yeah, we can embrace what they've done, and now we can, take that baton and run strong into the future. So good to hear your thoughts there. We lost a CFD captain this past week, and I know that as the CEO of the third largest city in the country, any loss to any of the folks that are part of your greater organization, if you will, is tough to see. And I wanted to get your thoughts and your feelings and observations about this CFD captain that we lost.
Yeah, Captain David Meyer was just an exceptional Chicagoan human being, first and foremost. And as a first responder, a firefighter, it put him in a class by himself. And our hearts are still deeply broken because of his loss, and our prayers and thoughts are with his wife. It's just an exceptional love story. They have known each other since they were the age of 14, and had 4 amazing, beautiful children, 3 daughters and a son and a granddaughter. The entire CFD family and all of our first responders, our police officers as well. We still mourn, but we celebrate the life and the legacy and the ultimate sacrifice that Captain David Meyer literally gave his life to keep us safe.
Yeah, and the thing about that is we literally have heard the phrase, the folks that run toward danger, and he literally did that in the effort to preserve others and their lives. So I just wanted you to have a moment to publicly speak to the gift that he gave us and the sacrifice that he made, not for just the city of Chicago, but ultimately with his family. So we want to send them all the love and blessings that we can as a city for one of our fallen heroes. So thank you for that, Mayor Johnson. You've been, I don't know how much you paid attention to the previous segment, but I've been talking up how our Democratic leaders, imperfect as we all are, Mayor Johnson, and the mistakes that we make and all those things that we don't get right. The one thing that's consistent here in Illinois, city, Chicago, county, and the state, is our folks are fighting. And you have been one of those folks. You recently joined the lawsuit seeking to prevent Trump's federal government overhaul. Tell us a little bit about that, if you can.
Yeah, Chicago, by our nature, we are, a part of this long legacy of resistance, and particularly resistance to oppressive forms of government. I'm always reminding people that when Dr. King came to the city of Chicago and to move the freedom movement north, they understood that, breaking this, system of oppression in Chicago provides an open lane for the rest of the country. And those were his words. I'm paraphrasing that. What we are able to do in the city of Chicago, we can do anywhere in the world. And yesterday was May Day. The labor movement birthed out of the hopes and aspirations of working people. So there's a long legacy of just resistance and pushing the values of working people as the prevailing form of governance. And what I've said from the very beginning, and if you can go back and check this, even prior to Trump, I called him Chump. My bad. As a Freudian slip there.
No, it's all right. I'll carry you on that one. You can hand the baton off to me on that one. I got you. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
But before Trump rose again, it was very evident to me, and I said this a couple of years ago, that there's a segment of the country that have not accepted the results of the Civil War, and they have continued to relitigate our liberation, essentially, and wanting to take us back to a time not just during the Jim Crow era, but I'm talking about taking us back to a time of incredibly severe oppressive states or forms of government. And so we have to utilize the tools that we do have, that generations have used to defeat this type of extremism. And so that's, organizing and taking it to the streets and protest and expressing the First Amendment. But it also requires us to put forth legislation, but it also requires us to have a legal strategy as well. And if you look at the great thinkers in the political moment of the civil rights era, those were the tactics that they used, whether it was sit-ins, of course, the march across the Edmund Pettus Bridge, putting forth legislation, the the Voting Rights Act, suing the federal government, Brown v. Board. You see where I'm going? That's why I love social studies so much, because it gives us indication of like how we continue to push our democracy to evolve. And so this effort is just the latest tool that we're using to push back against the erosion essentially of our Constitution.
And thank you for that. What are the things that you and other mayors, and I know we talked about this a little bit in the past, but that you and other mayors are doing in this fight? And, what is it that you can lock into to say that you and other mayors that you speak with and work with nationally are saying and doing to let the public know, let the community that you directly serve in the greater communities regionally and nationally know we are fighting? I mean, I think people, that's the thing that's an ongoing conversation, Mayor Johnson. What are our leaders doing to fight this attempt to overhaul the government? And as a result of that, we get the trickle down of that in cities and states.
Yeah. Well, it's the American cities that make up the continent. And that's something that we can never lose sight of. Those are the words of Mayor Washington. And so the cities, that's the place where government brushes up or touches the day-to-day life experience of residents the most. It's not the federal level, it's not the state, it's not the county, it's local municipal government. And so I just hosted the U.S. Conference of Mayors this week. Mayors and police chiefs and superintendents from all over the country came to the city of Chicago to discuss some of the trends that we are experiencing, but sharing ways in which we are combating violence. And they came to Chicago because the work that we're doing in the city of Chicago is beginning to show up in a real way. You may have noticed that just this week a report came out that violent crime, and particularly homicides, are down, and that we have had fewer homicides. The last time we had homicides this low in the month of April was 1962. And so what we have shared as a city is that it's not just policing, right? It's how we show up and invest in youth employment, building more affordable homes, and using creative financial efforts to do that. How do we expand mental and behavioral health? What forms of technology can we use within our police department that actually works, right? So we have 3 brand new helicopters since I've been in office. Those type of shared experiences and policies, those are the things that we're doing to fortify and protect our cities. Now, as far as on the national level, again, it's the lawsuits. It's using our collective voices to challenge the congressional delegations in our respective spaces to push back against this administration. The U.S. Conference of Mayors is a nonpartisan group. So we had mayors from red states, police superintendents and chiefs from red states and blue states. And one of the things that we are all concerned about and what we all agree upon, the Trump administration's attack against the Department of Justice and withholding dollars that are clearly showing that they're working, and particularly dollars that support our community violence interrupters, or CVI programs. That's something that is a shared experience across cities of America that have helped drive violence down in all of our respective cities. So those are just some of the collective efforts that we're doing, sharing best practices, and of course amplifying our collective strength through the courts, but also pushing our congressional delegation to actually create some checks and balances. One thing I can say about the city of Chicago, maybe under previous mayors like Richard M. Daley and Rahm Emanuel, where you had these rubber stamp, city councils, 45-5, 50-0, 49-1. That's not my experience as mayor of Chicago. We're way past the rubber stamp era, and if we can have those type of political discord at the local level, we certainly have to have it at the federal level. Right now, we're not getting that.
It's so refreshing to hear you say, hey guys, listen, I know that this stuff is crazy. And these are my words, of course. It's crazy. And we know it. We recognize it. I was saying in the previous segment that I know, Mayor Johnson, people want to know that our leaders are standing up every day and punching, in every direction that they have to. And, the city of Chicago gets this label, good, bad, or indifferent, of this violent city, yet the reduction is real. And it's real, but I do want to kind of walk through with you. What are the indicators when you hear people say, yeah, but there's still these sexual assaults that are taking place in different neighborhoods. People don't want to get on the CTA. I mean, you hear it before we hear it. So how are you navigating that message to say, no, yes, that's happened. Those are real, but this is our way forward?
Or our way forward has already begun, and that's why we're seeing the results that we're seeing. Look, one homicide, one shooting is one too many. And Brother Richard True, I've said this multiple times. I live in a beautiful community on the west side of Chicago, the Austin neighborhood. I am the first mayor in the history of Chicago, unless someone can prove otherwise, that wakes up in one of the most violent neighborhoods in the city. So this touches me in a very personal, very close way, and that's why it's been my top priority. And so you can't ignore the fact that the investments that we are making are showing good signs of return. And homicides are down, shootings are down, shooting victims are down, robberies are down. It doesn't mean that those things are not still happening, but I promise something better, and better is here. Now, look, the work in front of us is something that we have to still commit ourselves to doing. But again, the data proves itself that because we are investing in youth employment, because we are investing in mental health, because we are investing in affordable homes, it's proof positive that investments go up, violent crime goes down. This is also proof positive that you can have the view and the leadership of a working class person with a progressive agenda, and you can have a society that provides opportunity and accountability. Again, between January and April just this year, the last time we've seen numbers this low, I wasn't even born, right? And
I was.
And look, okay. You notice I didn't say that.
I know you didn't. That's all right. I honor my age.
and look, I mean, even with our CTA, ridership is up. Between buses and trains, we had 300 million riders last year. We're moving closer towards the pre-pandemic era. We're hiring more people. We're investing in more express bus lanes. And look, we're going to work with police department as well as the security team of the CTA to create an even safer experience. It doesn't mean that we're ignoring or we're dismissing that those things still exist. But we have to recognize as a city, we are not the most violent city in America. We're not even in the top 25. I don't believe we're even in the top 50. That's a narrative that those who have ruined this city are using to try to get back control over what they messed up. And, again, as we continue to invest in people, that's what strong cities do. And that's how we're going to continue to drive violence down the city. And that's not the effort of one person or one department. That's the full force of government. It's going to take all of us to continue to create a more safe and a more equitable society for everyone.
And that's such I'm glad you were able to kind of lean into that a little bit, because we know that there's some history that is still upon us that we're dealing with and we're trying to clean out and make better. Going forward, as we wrap up, Mayor Johnson, last couple of minutes, it's springtime, mid-spring. We're hitting that stride, even though it's only going to be 52 degrees today. But we're hitting that stride, which means that folks are going to be out and about and doing their thing all over the city of Chicago. There's going to be folks coming in from the suburbs. There's going to be folks traveling here that are visiting as tourists from surrounding states and the greater country and the world. Walk us through a little bit about your next 30 days as we get into this crease. Is the city ready? How are you feeling about that and what you guys are saying? Okay, here we are. Let's get ready.
Yeah. Well, look, first of all, Beyonce is coming back, so she added a third show. So I think that's some indication that people are, certainly they want to come see her, right? But they also want to come see the beauty of our city. Last year, 2024, we saw occupancy for our hotels reach almost 70%. The revenue that we've generated just from tourists, we're looking at pre-pandemic numbers. People are coming back to the city of Chicago and they're booking hotels and they're going to our museums, they're going to our restaurants. They're coming to the north side to see the Cubs play. Sorry, I don't know about that.
Man,
Was
you're going to
really
get
uncalled
yourself
for.
in trouble.
Good
gosh, Mayor Johnson,
I know.
come on now.
I mean, I got to do better. I know I do. They're coming to the north side to see our Cubbies play. And look, I mean, people had this question about the DNC. Would we be ready? We
were ready.
And we've proven over and over again that we're ready. Lollapalooza, we're talking about 400,000 people plus. The Sueños Fest, the Jazz Fest, the Gospel Fest. NASCAR is going to take another shot at it. Hopefully, we can get some decent weather for them. But
I know, right?
We have all of the new construction that we are experiencing. We're building more homes, and again, our downtown is being restored by we're repurposing office buildings and turning them into housing and even affordable housing, creating more innovative commercial corridors within the pockets of our city. This is the innovative approach that we have to take. And there are individuals that are looking at an antiquated element as a way to measure our success.
Yes.
That is past now. That is no longer the case. And so this is the type of fresh new leadership that I promised to bring, and that we would respond to the interests of working people. We're also investing in our public schools. I'm really grateful. I get a chance to talk a lot about this, but a teacher's contract without having to go to the streets, take a strike vote, or even go on a strike, where we were able to protect Black history, veteran Black and brown educators, protecting our LGBTQ plus students, protecting our immigrants, our immigrant students. This is what you want in a society where no one is siloed and cut off from the opportunity or even the potential that our democracy offers. So absolutely, we are ready. I'm coming up on 2 years,
I know.
Richard. And, what I said was that we would be the most pro-worker city in America. And we've proven that we would invest in our young people, proven that we would expand and extend mental and behavioral health services. We've proven that, and that we would drive violence down in the city of Chicago. Everything that people have asked for after 30 years of malfeasance, we are literally turning the page and moving our city forward. And I need everyone to continue to stand shoulder to shoulder, and let's not allow this yeast, if you will, of those that are pharisaical to spread, this message of despair. There's far more hope for America and the city of Chicago than what's coming from the federal government. And we need all people to join shoulder to shoulder and hand to hand, and to stand up for our humanity.
One of the things that I say, Mayor Johnson, often is all players means all players. And I'm committed to that. And I know that you are. You are a mayor of a local city, third largest city in the country, and one of the most influential in the world. But you've evolved as a national voice and a national leader because of the stands that you've taken on local issues as well as some of the federal issues. So that's my box that I'm checking with you today, is my sort of new denotation of little local mayor from the west side of Chicago, Brandon Johnson, that's taking on these national issues as well. And so I think it's important that people recognize that's what we all have to do right now, is be local. It starts local, but we also have to be mindful of what's going on outside of our immediate communities. So thank you for that type of leadership and those types of words. Take a minute, send us off as we wrap up this segment today, Mayor Johnson.
Yeah, well, thank you again, and to all of your listeners, and really the entire city of Chicago. This moment really has been brought to us by this constant push for working people to have a real voice in our democracy, and we cannot be weary in our well-doing. As the scriptures remind us. And, the best days of the city of Chicago are clearly in front of us. And, the work that we have done to drive violence down in the city of Chicago, again, homicides continue to go down, shooting victims, robberies, vehicular carjackings continue to go down, while making these critical investments to build more affordable homes and to create opportunities for our young people, and to make sure that mental and behavioral health care are available for us, and to have a transportation system that allows us to grow our economy. What I'm counting on in this moment is that the people of Chicago, that we stand firm in our values and that we do not allow the divisive nature of what is coming from the federal government to seep into our politics, to seep into our soul, to take us to this, abyss of despair. That the hope of the city of Chicago really is the hope of America. I talk about our diversity as the soul of Chicago. Well, listen, the city of Chicago is the heartbeat of America. The true story of immigration, the true story of descendants of slaves finding solace in this amazing city. A city where small businesses and large corporations can collaborate and work together to be able to create more economic opportunities for our people. That's who we are, the city of skyscrapers, the city of electricity coming to life, the city that has, placed this country on a better pathway by electing the first Black president in the history of our country that found his soul on the south side of Chicago, right? That's who we are as Chicagoans, and we don't break, we do not bend, but we certainly found ourselves in a position to be far more innovative and creative on how we approach these critical issues. And I'm counting on all of Chicago to help us build a much better, stronger, safer one for everyone.
Mayor Brandon Johnson, mayor of the greatest freaking city in the world, Chicago, y'all. Mayor Johnson, thanks for being with us. Have a great weekend, and we thank you so much for being with us.
All right, you do the same. Thank you as well. And I'll see folks from the family on Saturday, right?
We'll see people.
WCPT reunion.
The reunion, that's right. There's the big guest. That was a big surprise, everybody. All right, Mayor Johnson, we'll see you tomorrow.
Right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. There you go, guys. Say what you want, but you got to get behind a message like that. You can say what you want to about him, but that's a message that I can get behind. And I am unapologetic about that. We're going to leave you with something real quick that Henry and I put together. This is who we want as the kind of leadership and reception. We got this little clip from former President Biden in Rome. There you go, guys. President Joe Biden and his trip to Rome, of course, during the services for Pope Francis. But that's the energy we need. That's the energy that we want to have and we deserve to have. And as always, as coming to this weekend, thank you for listening and tuning into all of our shows. Take a deep breath, y'all, and make your life count. We'll see you next week.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
800-708-3091.